Another important lexical relationship between words is that of meronymy. Meronymy actually informs us about the part-whole relationship between various terms used in a language. When one object is the part of another object, there is a relationship of meronymy between them. And sometimes we usually recognize an item by its part, or we recognize a part by the whole item name. Therefore, this relationship is very important, especially in our daily conversation, more than our academic debates. Uh, in this relationship, or in order to understand this relationship, we can use such expressions like X is a part of Y, or Y has X. In other words, we can say that a book has uh, pages, or a page is a part of a book. Both these expressions reflect some meronymic relationship between a book and a page. Meronymy also reflects and depends on some hierarchical relationships between various linguistic items, and they can also be understood by some kind of taxonomies built by various researchers. In order to explain this point further, let's have a look at this diagram. If you have a look on the top, we have word car, and car has various parts like wheel, engine, door, window, and there are many more. You know that. So car and all these parts are in a relationship of meronymy. Sometimes we say my car is not working. Actually, it's not the whole car. It's the engine of the car which is out of order, or some other part of the car which is out of order. But we say that car is not working. In such situation, a whole is being used to mean a part. These relationships are usually explained in lexical terms as meronymic relations. Similarly, you move forward, you can see that engine has the parts like piston, valve, carburetor. Any of those is out of order, we would say that the engine is out of order in our daily conversation without getting into the details that that specific part of engine is not working. So this kind of relationship actually help us. It may not be that clear or regular as other taxonomies are, but it genuinely help us in our daily communication. It makes it easy to understand for the ordinary listener. Meronymic relations may vary in different ways. For example, there are some necessary meronyms for other words. For example, they are in a necessary relationship with the words. If we say the relationship between nose and face, we can say that nose is in a necessary relationship with face. Without a nose, a face may not be complete. So we can say that it is a necessary relationship there. So it's a necessary meronym for the face. Uh, in contrast, we can say there are some usual but not that obligatory relationships, for example, between the collar and the shirt. A shirt may have a collar, but it is not necessary for a shirt to have a collar always. Moving on to optional relationships, and that can be found in a relationship between a cellar and a house. A house may have a cellar, but in most of situations it may not have. So if needed, a house might have cellar in certain atmospheric or environmental conditions, but it may not always have a cellar. So we can say there are only few relationships between words which are necessarily meronymic, and the others may be less meronymic. Meronymy and hyponymy, they also differ from each other in terms of transitivity. We can say that hyponymy is always transitive. It leads to connection between various items in a series, whereas uh, meronymy may be transitive or may not be. In order to explain this further, I would like to give you an example of what is transitive connection and what is intransitive connection. A transitive connection can be found between a nail and a finger, as we can say that nail is a meronym of finger and a finger is a meronym of hand. So there is an essential relationship in a series. But in contrast, we can say that a hole is a meronym of a button, and a button is a meronym of shirt. But we cannot say that a hole is a meronym of a shirt, because we know shirts without holes. In this regard, we can say that there is a difference between meronymy and hyponymy, and this element of transitivity help us define this difference between these two various linguistic relations. There are some other relative thoughts which are very close to part and whole relationship. For example, the relationship of member and collection. There are certain nouns who have some collective nouns also. For example, we have a unit and a collection of that unit in terms of a ship and fleet. Ship is maybe seen as a unit of a fleet. Similarly, we can have other things falling in the same relationship. For example, a tree and a forest, a book and a library, and a bird and flock. So all these examples you can find, they are in a relationship of member and collection, and they are slightly similar to the part whole relationship which we find in meronymy. Similarly, we have a portion and mass relationship, and in this there may be a mass noun, and there is also a unit for its measurement. So the relationship between these two may roughly be called as the relationship between portion and mass. And in this regard, we can cite the examples like drop of liquid. A liquid may be seen as a mass noun, and a drop is a unit to measure it. And similarly, other examples can be grain of salt, or grain of sand, or wheat. So grain is a unit which may be used to measure wheat or sand or salt. So there is a relationship of part and whole between grain and wheat. Similarly, we have sheet and paper, we have lump and coal. So all these relationships overall help us in understanding this important lexical relationship of meronymy.